Welcome back to The Grind for a guide on how to play Diablo after his buff, and let me tell you, he is an absolute beast for so many reasons, and I can't wait to break it all down for you. So first, let's talk about his Vials of Might and Philosopher's Mix. You start off the fight with 6 Vials of Might if you don't use any pre-fights, and every time you throw a special attack, he drinks from his vial, and if you interrupt it, you will get an extra vial of might to a max of 8. And each vial of might gives additional attack as well as poison potency, so you want to have those as high as you can. Activating one of the pre-fight abilities, and you can activate up to 3, will actually use up 2 of those vials of might, so you'll start with less. Now, one of the synergies that I'm using is not required but is helpful because it gives your special attacks a chance to stun the opponent, and that allows you, after using your special 1, to dash right back in and therefore interrupt your vial and give you another vial of might. So now we have 8. Now I'm building up to a special 3, and the special 3 does different things for each of the different pre-fight abilities that you've activated, but the main thing is that it activates 2 poisons for every single vial of might you had active. So we had 8 on us. That applied 16 poisons plus what we had on the opponent up to a max of 20. And this just starts to melt the opponent, and therefore you can only use the special 3 one time in a fight. And the goal is to keep those poisons active as long as possible, which can be challenging without any synergies or without Mystic Dispersion, as you can see, but we're going to take a look at some ways that you can keep those poisons active for a long period of time. Now I want to show you the special 3 with activation of Essence of Null, which is the pre-fight you're going to likely use most of the time. As you can see, we started with only 4 vials of might. And if you wanted to activate all 3 of the pre-fight abilities, you would actually start with 0 vials of might, but with your special 1s, you can get those back up to your max of 8. So you don't permanently lose that for that fight. It just takes a lot more time to get fully ramped up. But if you have the ability to take advantage of buffs and Mystic Dispersion, you can then ramp up. As you can see, we now have 5 after the first special attack, and if you're getting through tons of special attacks, then you'll be able to ramp up quicker. Now, I'm actually just throwing off the special 3 with only 5 vials of might, but because we have Essence of Null activated, we get an additional bonus on our special 3. In addition to the poisons that we will be applying, we're also going to apply 10 detonate buffs, which when nullified or when expires, deal damage to the opponent. But this is fantastic because if you have Mystic Dispersion, you're going to be nullifying those buffs and fueling your power meter, which is going to allow you to throw special attacks even faster. And this is our special 2, which refreshes all the poisons, and the last hit deals burst damage depending on how many buffs and poisons have been applied during the fight. Now, we've actually gotten all the way back up to a second special 2 because of the remaining buffs that we nullified, so we were able to refresh the poison stacks yet again. If you get to a point where you're not able to get all the way back up to a special 2, you can throw your special 1, interrupt the vial drinking, and then pause all the poisons, keeping them active even longer. So this time, we were able to keep the poisons active for the entire fight. Now let's take a quick look at the special 2, which is unblockable, which is very nice in order to get your poison refresh in a pinch if you can't get an in on the opponent. And the burst damage on the very end builds up throughout the fight. Now you can chain heavies in the corners sometimes, but because of the distance the second hit creates, you will not likely be able to do this often. So the first hit, we didn't hit him with the special attack, so we didn't refresh the poisons, but the last hit, again, you see deals burst damage, which is much higher after we've applied more poisons. Now after 25 poisons or buffs activated in the fight, you'll get to your max, which is some nice additional damage. So the special 2 is more for damage and the special 1 is more for utility. Now, Diablo is incredibly sustainable. His healing is ridiculous. And as you can see, he takes no damage from poison. So if you have willpower and suicides, you get free healing. Once you throw a special 1 and get the Philosopher's Mix or any special attack, you'll be getting extra healing from it being active. And if you pause after the special 1 and drink the flask by pausing for 1.5 seconds, you'll activate a passive regeneration to get even more healing. And the more Philosopher's Mix passives that you stack up, the more healing that you are going to get. So you can just regenerate insane amounts. And now we have multiple Philosopher's Mix active. So just with that, we're dealing or healing even more. And now we have 4, and you can see every half second we're healing 263 because we had 4 Philosopher's Mix active at one time. Now this is a fight in Act 6. We're going to take a look at a few specific fights and situations. This has no particular buffs to take advantage of, no nodes giving him any benefits from the poisons or anything anything, just a regular fight. I threw off one special 1 to get an extra vial of might, and now I'm building up to go to the special 3, but the fight's almost over, so I just throw off the special 2, and you can see we healed quite a bit because I made some mistakes. I think I was down to 77%, and we finished at 94 with a nice juicy special 2. Now this is a Thorns node, and this was pretty fun to do, and I started off at low health because I lost a lot of health from the fight before. So we're going in at 42%, and we are taking damage from Thorns on every hit because Diablo's hits are all contact. Even though he's, blowing something out of his mouth, it's still considered a contact hit, which is kind of weird. But we're taking a lot of direct damage back, but Diablo's healing is so ridiculous that you're going to see we can actually maintain throughout this whole fight as long as you play slow enough. And if I started with full health, I would have had a little bit more wiggle room, but also because Diablo relies a lot on poison damage, a lot of the damage that you're dealing is not actually going to be given back to you from the Thorns because it's damage over time. Now, of course, with Luke Cage, his indestructibility is a little bit annoying, but once you get the Philosopher's Mix up and you drink that potion, you're going to be healing a lot back. And even though you're taking recoil, another thing about Diablo is when he's awakened, he takes reduced damage while he is inflicted by a poison. So the recoil is going to be dealing less than 5% damage each time. And when you drink the flask, you're going to heal back over 5% health. And so every special attack that you throw, even though you're losing health from recoil, you're actually still net positive with the health gain, especially when you add on the willpower healing from the poison on you, as well as the healing from the Philosopher's Mix while it is active. So I think the lowest we got to is 15% in this fight, and you can see we are healing back above 30%, and we get up to 36% here, and we have Luke Cage at 44%. So you can see you can definitely manage with Diablo in those fights. Now, Diablo actually can, with one of the pre-fights, heal back a percentage of energy damage that is dealt to him. And so these energy adaptation or adoption lanes, he can actually handle quite well because the debuffs applied are very small. And when you're healing back a portion of it, plus you're getting willpower from all those buffs, it means that Diablo actually is quite sustainable on these lanes. And even without Philosopher's Mix active, even without Philosopher's Mix active, which is when you would get the healing back from the energy damage, you can see we're not really losing a ton of health. So I took some hits and we have tons of debuffs up, and then we're going to throw off a special attack. And as soon as we do, once we have the healing from Philosopher's Mix, as well as the returned health from all the energy damage, you can see his health start to go up much quicker, and we start to heal back a lot of the damage that we had taken. And if you're not convinced yet about the sustainability of Diablo, there is a little bit more, but look at how fast his health bar is going up when you add on the regeneration from drinking the flask, plus having 2 Philosopher's Mix active. It is ridiculous. Unfortunately, he does not work well against Human Torch because all of his hits are energy damage, so Human Torch builds up tons of smolder charges, which makes his incinerates very intense, so you start to lose your health quite quickly, regardless of all the healing effects that you might be able to have. So you want to watch out for that. Now, here is a little clip against Guardian. We're going to take the SB2 straight to the face, and we healed back so much of the damage that we were able to survive that hit quite nicely. Now we're going to take a look at the last pre-fight ability, which is Grain of Uru, which makes you immune to stun as well as armor breaks while you have Philosopher's Mix active. So even reflected stuns will not apply to you, or encroaching stuns will not apply to you as long as the Philosopher's Mix is active. Now this is just a fun lane with poison, vulnerability, and rage. So we do have some buffs to take advantage of, and just look at how fast the opponent is melting. This is Act 7.2. Now the fun fight against Old Man Logan in a Labyrinth of Legends. So because I activated the nullification pre-fight, I'm starting with 4 vials of might, which means I have to build up those charges to 8 by throwing a special 1 and interrupting it before I finish drinking the flask. And once you build up to 8, you can throw off your special 3 to get as many poisons as possible, which will be 16 from your vials of might. And then we're going to be putting on those detonate buffs, so we'll be able to feed into Mystic Dispersion, and we're going to be able as well to take advantage of Old Man Logan's buffs to help fuel our special attacks, to get to special 2s to continue to refresh the poison durations. And then once we run out of buffs to take advantage of, or if you're not using Mystic Dispersion, you can just race up to a special 1 and pause the duration of the poisons, which then gives you 10 seconds to get back to another special 1 so that you can further pause the poisons yet again. So you can see we have lots of buffs to nullify. We're going to throw off a special 2, and because there's lots of buffs still, we basically get back up to another special 2, and we are able to take some time to bait out that special attack, and then we'll refresh the poisons yet again. But now there are no buffs active on Old Man Logan, so this is the time where you would probably want to switch to throwing special 1s to pause the poison duration. I got a little bit greedy and I tried to race back up to a special 2, which I got very lucky and barely made it at the very last second. And then after this, you would definitely want to convert to throwing just special 1s until there were more buffs to take advantage of. But I think Diablo might be a good option for Abyss of Legends against some of those champions that have lots of buffs to take advantage of. So I'm having so much fun with Diablo. I hope this guide was helpful and I hope you learned something. Good luck, and I hope to see you in the next video.